Hello and welcome to Meeple University's How to Play Food Chain Magnate. In Food Chain Magnate, players compete to set up the most successful chain of fast food restaurants in this town. Players will need to build up their collection of employees, advertise food and drinks to the houses in the town, and then sell the houses the food and drinks that they want in exchange for money. The game plays until the bank has run out of money and the player who has the most money at the end of the game wins. To set up Food Chain Magnate, shuffle the map tiles and then lay them out in a random orientation in a 3x3 grid for a 2-player game, 3x4 for a 3-player game, 4x4 in a 4-player game, or 5x4 for a 5-player game. There are no restrictions on how the map should look when it's placed out. Roads can end at blank spaces, and small sections of the road can even be disconnected from the rest of the board. Next, lay out all of the employee cards and the milestone cards in the configuration shown inside and on the back of your player aid. For the 9 employee types that have a 1x icon in the corner, remove 2 of those cards in a 2 or 3-player game and 1 of those cards in a 4-player game. Setting up like this occupies a lot of space on your table, and so there are some good aftermarket solutions to cut down on the space. Lay out the turn order track, new houses, new gardens, and all of the advertisements with their corresponding number chits next to the board. If you're playing with a player count lower than 5, the rulebook will direct you to remove certain billboards from the game. Each player takes a CEO card, 3 reserve cards of different numbers, 3 restaurant tiles, and a matching turn order chit. I'm going to use this personalised CEO card that I made for Stella for her birthday because it's cool. Next, count out $50 per player and place it into the bank. Then, each player looks at his or her reserve cards, chooses one that they wish to play, and secretly plays it into the reserve. After this $50 per player has run out, these will be flipped, and that amount of money will be added to the bank for the second half of the game. But for the moment, these are kept hidden. Finally, randomly choose a starting turn order, and in reverse turn order, each player places his or her first restaurant. The restaurant must go on 4 blank tiles on the board and can straddle 2 tiles if desired. The entrance, indicated by this black L, must adjoin a road. When placing subsequent restaurants during this setup step, a restaurant cannot be placed such that its entrance is on the same big tile as another player's restaurant. They all must be placed on different major tiles. Each round in Food Chain Magnate plays through the same 7 phases, which are indicated here on your player card. The basic premise of the game is that you will be hiring and training up employees, and that each employee has a certain action associated with it. In each round, you will choose a number of these employees to put to work, and you will take each of that employee's action while trying to build up your empire. At the start of the game, you will have no employees at all. Then you will hire entry-level employees who have weak actions, and then you will train them to stronger employees who have stronger actions but also need to be paid each round. The first phase of each round is restructuring. Simultaneously, all players gather up all of their employee cards, except for the CEO, who will always be employed in every round, and any marketing employees who have an active campaign going. I'll talk more about that later, but that's essentially a blue employee with a chit placed on it. Then, players will simultaneously look through their cards and choose which of their employees will be working in this round and which ones will not be working. These ones are said to be at work. These ones are said to be at the beach. Once all players have selected, all players simultaneously reveal and arrange their employees into a corporate structure. When building up your corporate structure, you can only place as many employees as you have slots in your corporate pyramid. So as a default, the CEO can have 3 employees reporting to him or her. And so you could place any 3 employees reporting into the CEO, but you would not be able to place a 4th. However, if you have management employees, which are the black coloured employee cards, those employees can report into the CEO, giving you extra slots in your structure. So under this arrangement here, 2 of the CEO's slots are occupied by these managers, but these managers bring an additional 5 slots. That means a further 6 employees could report into this structure. It is not necessary to fill all of the slots in your structure, and in fact empty slots will come into play in the turn order selection phase, which is next. When building your corporate structure, manager cards can only report to the CEO. You cannot have levels of middle management chaining down like this to gain additional slots. In addition to your CEO, there are 5 different types of management employee available in the game. Employees at the beach and active marketing employees do not need to be fit into your structure. The second phase is the order of business phase, and this determines the turn order for the rest of the round. To start with, take the previous round's turn order and slide all of the chits off the track but maintain their order. Then each player counts up the number of slots which are available in his or her corporate structure. So in the example we saw before, it was 2 slots. Whichever player has the most remaining slots gets to choose where they want to go in the turn order. And players may want to go earlier in order to get something before another player does, or later in order to respond to what other players are doing. If there is a tie for number of available slots, whoever was earlier in the previous round's turn order breaks that tie. So if the green player had 2 leftover slots and all other players had none, green would choose first, then pink, and then purple would get whatever was left. The rest of the round is played in this order. Note that because I'm set up for a 3-player game here, the 4 and 5 slots cannot be selected. The third phase is the working 9 to 5 phase, and this is where players will use the majority of their employees' actions. There are 6 different types of actions which the employees can carry out in this phase, and they're completed in the order shown on the player card. This phase of the round takes place in turn order, with the player in the first position performing all of the actions of this phase, all 6 different types, before the next player takes his or her actions. Firstly, the player uses any recruit actions, and there are 4 employees who can recruit other employees. Your CEO and recruiting girl can each hire 1, recruiting manager can hire 2, and HR director can hire 4. Any type of employee in the left-hand column with this entry arrow symbol can be hired by these employees. Anyone further along cannot be hired. In order to hire a worker, simply choose the worker that you wish to hire, say a kitchen trainee, take the corresponding card from the supply, and place it into your on the beach pile. If there are no cards remaining of the employee type that you wish to hire, you cannot hire that type of employee. The second type of action is training, and these 3 employees, the trainer, coach, and guru, can perform the training action. Training allows you to take an employee and move them 1 step up the career path track. For example, training an errand boy into a cart operator. To do a train action, choose an employee who is in your at the beach pile and choose the type of employee you want to train them into. And in a few cases, you have several choices. Management trainee could become a junior vice president, new business developer, or luxuries manager. Make the choice and return the card that you're training in exchange for the upgraded card. That upgraded card remains in your at the beach pile. Note that there are some employees, either early or late on the career path track, who cannot be trained any further. There are a couple of restrictions with training. The key one is that you cannot use different trainers on the same employee. So these two trainers could not be used to raise a kitchen trainee 2 steps on his career path. However, coaches can train the same person twice, or gurus can train the same person 3 times. And so these are ways to get people further down the career path track more quickly. Coaches and gurus can also split their training activities across different employees. So this coach could train both of these at the beach employees 1 step, or could train one of them 2 steps. If the card that you wish to train your employee into is not available in the main supply, you cannot perform that training step. However, if you're using a coach and guru and want to train an employee 2 steps, say from a kitchen trainee to a burger chef, but the intermediate card is not available, you can perform that training, skipping over the unavailable card. You can train an employee on the same round in which he or she was hired, because that employee goes into the at the beach pile when hired. Additionally, you can combine a recruitment and train action together in order to skip over a type of employee that's not available. Say all the errand boy cards were gone, you could recruit and then immediately train to get a cart operator, skipping over the fact that the errand boys are unavailable. Finally, a player cannot perform training so that he or she would have a second copy of a card with the 1 times icon in the corner. Once an employee has been trained, that employee will command a salary every round of $5, which is paid during the payday phase, which I'll talk about later. This includes on the turn that that employee was trained. As a result, it can be difficult to train employees early in the game until you have an income stream to pay for them, so keep this in mind. Before I talk about the next action, which is initiating marketing campaigns, I need to talk about the concept of distance in Food Chain Magnate, as this influences a few of the employees and actions which follow. There are 2 types of distance in Food Chain Magnate. Distance by road, indicated by the route marker, and distance by air, which is indicated by a zeppelin. Distance by air can have either a number or it can be infinite. To determine distance by road, start from the corner of your restaurant which has the door on it. Then trace a path on the road, counting the number of tile boundaries that you cross until you reach your destination. So this drink store here is on the same tile as the entrance point. So that has a distance of 0. Getting to house number 4 from this restaurant by road would be a distance of 1, 2. Has a distance of 2. Getting to house 19, even though the house portion is over here, part of the tile and the garden is here, and so it would be at a distance of 1. House 10, even though it is the closest thing to this restaurant, is still at a distance of 1 because it crosses 1 border. If a section of the board cannot be reached by a continuous road path, then it cannot be reached at any road distance. Also be wary that some of the tiles have a bridge or overpass on them. And so this is not a 4-way intersection, this is a bridge. And the distance from this restaurant to house number 5 would not be traced in this direction. For a distance of 2, it would need to be traced in this direction with a distance of 4. When tracing distance by air, the starting point is the same. It is the corner of your restaurant with a door. However, you can ignore the roads and go anywhere on the map. So for the example we saw before, with this restaurant going to house 5, this would now be able to be met by Zeppelin at a distance of 2, and regions that are cut off by road can be reached by Zeppelin. The next sub-step of the working 9 to 5 phase is to place advertising campaigns. And these 4 blue-coloured employees are the marketing employees. In order to take this action, there are a series of decisions that you need to make. Firstly, you need to choose which of the available advertising campaigns you're going to launch. There are 4 different types: billboards, letterbox drops, aeroplane flyovers, and radio campaigns. And they come in different sizes. Radio campaigns reach the most people, billboards reach the fewest people. However, the entry-level employees, the marketing trainee, can only launch billboard campaigns. Campaign managers can launch letterbox drops or billboards. Brand managers can add flyovers to the other 2, and brand directors can use all 4. Choose the one that you wish to place. Then choose where you will place it. This will be restricted by a distance limitation. So marketing trainees can only place at a distance of 2 by road, up to 2 by road. Campaign managers can place at up to 3 by road. These 2 can place anywhere on the board. So choose the location, up to a distance of 2, say it's going to go here. Then choose what is going to be advertised and the duration of the campaign. Any of the 5 basic foods and drinks could be advertised, and the duration of the campaign is the number of turns it will be advertised for. You keep track of this by putting that number of the token on that advertising campaign on the board. So if this marketing trainee is going to advertise pizza at a duration of 2, take 2 pizza markers and place them on that billboard. Finally, take that marketing employee, place them off to the side, neither in your structure nor in your at beach pile, and place the number chit corresponding to the marketing campaign that was placed. This will keep track of this employee being busy until that campaign has run out. Billboards, letterbox drops, and radio campaigns must be placed adjacent to roadways, and they cannot overlap with any other tiles or features printed on the board. Aeroplane flyovers are placed adjacent to the board, covering 5 spaces, 3 spaces, or 1 space. If a player has this milestone, and I'll talk more about milestones later, but if a player has this milestone, he or she will have eternal marketing, meaning that the duration of all marketing campaigns will be infinite, regardless of the restriction on the card. When placing an eternal campaign, flip the campaign over to the eternal side, and then just place 1 token of the type of food being advertised. The employee that placed the eternal marketing campaign will remain active in that campaign for the rest of the game. The 4th step of working 9 to 5 is getting food or drink, which you do with your green coloured employees. The darker green produce food and the lighter green collect drinks. To produce food, simply take pizza or burger tokens from the main supply and add them to your restaurant's collection based on the employee in use. A kitchen trainee, you have the choice to produce either a pizza or a burger. A burger cook will produce 3 burgers. A burger chef will produce 8 burgers. A pizza cook, 3 pizzas. And a pizza chef, 8 pizzas. Getting drinks from your restaurant works a little bit differently. As you cannot produce the drinks yourself, you need to collect them from the drink points on the board. To use the errand boy, simply take 1 drinks token of any of the 3 types and put it into your restaurant supply. To use the cart operator, trace a path by road from one of your restaurants of a distance up to 2, and then get 2 drinks from each source of drinks on that route. You must pass the source of drinks on a straight side in order to get it, and you cannot do a U-turn as part of your route. Because the cart operator is sometimes difficult to visualize, I've put the 2 drinks on each of the drink sources, and I'm going to use this car from a different game to demonstrate how this works. So trace out a route without making any U-turns at distance 2, and then pick up drinks from anything where you go past a straight edge. For example, the path could take you here, grabbing these colas, turn down this way, grabbing these lemonades, and even though you can go a distance of 2, there are no further drinks on this tile, so you would collect those 4 drinks on that route. Another option would be to leave here, again take the colas, come down here, which is distance 1, and then either turn right to take these 2 colas and head off onto this tile with no drinks, or turn left and head over here to take these 2 lemonades. Note that there is no legal route allowing you to hit both of these by road, because to get to a straight edge on here, you would need to do a U-turn to come back that way. Note that I've used these strictly for demonstration. These aren't a resource which is taken by players earlier in the turn order, and multiple players can use each of these stores on the same round. The truck driver works exactly the same way as the cart operator, except that his distance is 3, and he takes 3 drinks from each source instead of 2. The final drinks collecting employee is the Zeppelin pilot, who travels at an air distance of 4 and collects 2 drinks from each source. This means that from leaving the entrance of your restaurant, you can travel a distance of 4 by air, ignoring roads, e.g. 1, 2, 3, 4, collecting 2 drinks from every source on those tiles, regardless of whether you would have had to have U-turned in order to get them. At the end of the Get Food and Drinks phase, any food and drinks tokens you've collected go into your personal supply, able to be used by all of your restaurants. Note that at the end of the round, you'll be throwing away any excess food that you do not use during the dinner time phase, unless you have this milestone. The next step is placing houses or gardens, and each new business developer in your structure may place 1 house or may place 1 garden on an existing house which has no garden. To place a house, choose from one of the 8 available houses. You may pick whichever you want, low or high numbered, which influences how the house plays in the dinner time phase. Take the house of choice and then place it anywhere on the board in an available 6 square space. To place a garden, pick one of the houses that is printed on the board, take the garden and place that garden adjacent to the house so that it forms a 6 square block. Certain houses, such as this one which is encased with roads, or this one which has now been blocked out by this particular new house, will no longer have a space for gardens. Placing houses or adding gardens in key areas of the map can give you a competitive advantage by giving you extra business in a key area. A house with a garden will pay more money for food, and you can advertise more food to that house, which we'll see in the next phases of the video. Additionally, you can use gardens to join up previously disconnected houses, like this one, which has no road link to the rest of the map, and you can join that up to existing roads and bring it into the market. The last step of working 9 to 5 is to build new restaurants or move restaurants, and this is done using the red employees, the local manager and the regional manager. The local manager can build a new restaurant which will be active from the following turn, and he is limited to a road distance of 3 from your existing restaurants. Go from your existing restaurant, find the new location, and place the restaurant on the coming soon side. At the end of this round and the start of the next round, you'll flip that to the welcome side and it will be available from that next round. To use the regional manager can place a new restaurant anywhere on the map. He has an infinite Zeppelin distance, so he can place it anywhere, even if disconnected by roads. And it goes straight to the welcome side and can be used in this round. The regional manager can also pick up any one of your existing restaurants and move it somewhere else. As for all tile placement, when placing a tile, you cannot overlap with other tiles or printed map features. And the restaurant must adjoin a road. The regional manager may only take one of these actions, that is, place one restaurant or move one restaurant. The other feature of each of these employees is that drive-in becomes available at all of your restaurants when these are active in your corporate structure. When drive-in is available, you can treat your restaurant as if there is an entrance on all 4 corners. And this counts for the entire round when doing distances for your employees as well as the dinner time phase. This can be a good way of reducing the distance between your restaurant and certain locations. For example, with drive-in open, this restaurant is now at distance 0 from house 10 instead of distance 1. It's also another way that you can connect your restaurant to an otherwise disconnected part of the map. If you have these employees but they're in your at the beach pile, your drive-ins are not available. After all players have gone through the working 9 to 5 phase in turn order, play proceeds to the dinner time phase, then the payday phase, then the marketing phase. I'm going to talk about the marketing phase first because it helps to understand that before talking about the dinner time phase. In the marketing phase, you will be putting into effect all of the marketing campaigns that you've initiated in order to create demand at all of the different houses, as these houses are not going to come out to your restaurant unless they have been marketed to. Tokens on houses represent what that house wants to go out and eat. And there may be some tokens left on these houses from previous rounds and previous marketing campaigns. Leave those in place at this point in the game. Marketing campaigns are evaluated in order of the number printed on the campaign. It will begin with the radio campaigns and end with the billboards. For a radio campaign, place one demand token of the type that's being marketed onto every house on the radio campaign's tile and all 8 of the tiles surrounding it. The house does not need to be entirely on the tile in order to be marketed. So in this case, you would add a cola token to all 7 of these houses here. Then take one of the tokens off the marketing campaign to indicate that part of its duration has decreased. Next, keep proceeding to the aeroplane flyover campaigns. A flyover will affect any house which is partly or entirely on that aeroplane's range when it flies across the board. So for this campaign, it would target house number 10 with lemonade, house number 15 with lemonade, and it could hit house number 7. However, every house has a demand limit. A house with no garden can only have 3 demand tokens on it, and a house with a garden can only have 5 demand tokens on it. So because this house is full with 3 tokens, this campaign, coming later in the campaign order, has no effect. Then remove the duration marker as before. If a campaign loses its final duration marker, that campaign is finished. Return that campaign to the main supply of campaigns and find the active marketer who was responsible for that campaign, which you can remember by the number chit. Return that number chit and then place that marketer in that player's at the beach pile. Keep proceeding through to the letterbox campaigns. A letterbox campaign will target all houses which can be reached from that campaign's location without crossing a road. Ignore all other printed effects on the map. So for campaign 7, drawing a line around the roads, you can see that it will hit houses 8 and 15, like so. Remember that a house with a garden can have 5 tokens, so that is valid. Then remove the demand as before. Where you have a bridge, the bridge still stops the campaign from progressing to the other side, even though you wouldn't have to physically cross a road in order to walk under a bridge. Letterbox campaigns can vary significantly in size, and so one as limited as this would only hit house number 5. Finally, you will progress to the billboards. Billboards only target houses that touch that billboard orthogonally. So this particular campaign here would hit houses 4 and 11. Because this one is an eternal marketing campaign, do not remove the demand token. This will remain there for the rest of the game. Proceeding to the last billboard, number 14, this would target house 18, but because it joins number 10 diagonally, it does not hit house 10. Once all marketing campaigns have been evaluated in this manner, the marketing phase is over. Stepping back now to the 4th phase of each round, which is dinner time. And this is where houses will go out to eat and satisfy their demand. I've got the board and the cards set up to show a 3-player game. And the employees that are important during the dinner time phase are the waitresses and all of the various pricing cards which are in pink. At the start of this phase, each player will have all of the food and drink that they have been collecting during this round. Each house is evaluated in number order, and during this step you'll be working out which restaurant will be serving which of these houses, and I'll go through the process of evaluating that. Firstly, we'll deal with house 4, which has the lowest number. Look at what that house wants: 2 pizzas. The only restaurants that are eligible to serve that house are ones that can serve at least 2 pizzas. So the purple restaurant is already out of the running for house 4's business. Next, make sure that by road from that house, it is possible to get to these players' restaurants. This house can get to green and can get to pink. So both of those houses are still in the restaurants are still in the running. Next, do a price evaluation. The basic price for any unit of food or drink on the board is $10, but any pink employees will raise or reduce the base price that a restaurant offers. So Stella's company, with 2 pricing managers, has a basic price of 8. And I'm just going to use these chits for demonstration purposes. These are for advertising, not for this. Over here, the pink company has a discount manager who gives a discount of 3. So the basic price is 7. The house is always going to try to find the cheapest place to eat, but that house's distance from the restaurant comes into the consideration. So add the distance measured from your closest restaurant to that house onto your price. That is how the house will see the value of eating there. So the green restaurant is at a distance of 1 from house 4, so the effective price, as far as house 4 is concerned, is $9. The pink restaurant is at a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4 from house 4, so the effective price that house 4 sees at that restaurant is 11. So house 4 is going to eat at Stella's green restaurant. The house returns the demand tokens and return the food tokens from that restaurant's supply. This is not optional. This must be done. The house has chosen to eat there and you will feed them that pizza. Then the house will pay your unit price for each unit of food. So in this case, $16, which would go to this company. This company now has fewer pizzas for the rest of the round, and you proceed to the following house. House 5 wants a beer and 2 colas. And looking at the companies, the pink company is the only one who can meet that demand. So provided there is a road path between that house and the pink restaurant, regardless of how long that path is, that is where House 5 will eat. Take the corresponding tokens from the player's supply and off the house. Then take the sale price, which again is $10 minus 3 for this discount manager, for each item. So $21 goes to this company. The player must apply this discount even if there is no competition for that house, as long as the discount manager is active in the player's structure. If the player had chosen to put the discount manager at the beach, the sale price would have been $10 per item in this case. Proceeding to House 8. House 8 wants a lemonade and a cola. And although all 3 restaurants have enough drinks to supply that, the purple restaurant is the only one which has an unbroken road path to that house. So they must eat at the purple restaurant. The purple restaurant has no discount pricing, and so the basic unit price of $10 a piece is paid to that particular restaurant. Proceeding now to House 10. House 10 wants cola or lemonade, and green and pink are the only ones who can supply it. Once again, the base price is 8 and 7 for those restaurants, and if you count out the distance as we did before, we find that the effective price at both restaurants is $10. When you have a tie for effective price, the first tiebreaker is that the restaurant with the most waitresses in the corporate structure, not at the beach, will break the tie. So in this case, Stella's Green Restaurant would sell these. And once again, the unit price is $8 a piece. And so she would gain $16. If there is still a tie after waitresses, then whichever player is earlier in that round's turn order breaks the tie. Looking at House 11, 11 wants cola and pizza, and both purple and pink can supply that. Going through the prices the way we did before, we would find the effective price is lowest at the pink restaurant, and so pink would sell pizza and cola to House 11. Because House 11 has a garden, that house will pay double the sale price for that food and drink. So ignore the effective prices. That house will pay double 7, which is $14, for each of those items of food. And therefore, the player would receive $28. The other pricing employee to be aware of is the luxuries manager, who adds $10 to a company's sale price rather than giving a discount. A luxuries manager can be very lucrative if you know that you are the only one who can meet a certain house's demand. So in this case, the purple company is the only one with burgers and cola to feed House 15. So the player would get a base price of $20, doubled because this house has a garden, for each of those items, giving a total of $80. If it comes time to evaluate a house and there is no company left who can meet that demand, or if that house is closed off from the rest of the board and there are no restaurants there to serve them, that house does not eat. The demand token stays there and is added to in the next advertising phase. To finish the dinner time phase, each company takes $3 for each waitress in his or her corporate structure. Then If the player has a CFO in his or her corporate structure, total up the total amount of cash earned in this round, and then add an extra 50% rounded up to the nearest dollar. Note that there are these 3 milestone cards which will grant the player a $5 bonus for selling units of certain food or drink. These bonuses do not affect the choice for which restaurant the houses go to eat at, nor are these bonuses doubled for a house with a garden. This is simply a $5 bonus which is claimed after the rest of the price has been calculated. After the dinner time phase is over, proceed to the payday phase, where you must pay for all of your non-entry level employees. Look through all of your employee cards, whether they are in the structure, at the beach, or active marketing campaigns. Look at all the ones who have this cash icon in the bottom corner. These are the ones who have been trained at least once, and they're the ones that you have to pay. At this point, you may choose to fire any of these employees that you do not wish to keep any longer, returning them to the main supply. Then pay $5 a piece back to the bank for each employee that you are keeping. If you have no money or you have not earned much money during the previous dinner time phase, you may be forced to fire some employees. The only restriction on this is that you cannot fire an active marketer unless you have fired all other workers beforehand and have no money to pay him. If you're forced to fire an active marketer, his campaign remains on the board, but you lose the employee. If you have a recruiting manager or an HR director in your corporate structure and you did not use all of their actions for hiring new employees, you can use their remaining actions to get a discount on salaries. After payday is complete, proceed to the marketing campaigns phase, which I spoke about before. The key thing to remember is that marketing occurs after dinner time, and so when food is marketed to different houses, all players will have one round to respond to that and to try to win that market. Finally, proceed to the cleanup phase, which is preparing for the next round. In the cleanup phase, discard any unused food and drink tokens. If you have a restaurant on the coming soon side, as placed by a local manager, flip it to the welcome side, and then gather up all of your employees, both the beach and the structure ones, but not active marketers, ready for the next round. Additionally, if any milestones have been triggered during this round, remove the other cards for that milestone. And I'll talk about milestones now. The game comes with 18 milestones, which can influence your strategy during the game. Each milestone is of the form where the first player or players to achieve a certain objective will take one of the cards and then get an ongoing bonus for the rest of the game. The way this will work, taking this one as an example, when one player trains an employee for the first time, he or she will take this card, and then we'll have a $15 discount on salaries for the rest of the game. If any other players train one of their employees during the same round, that player will also take the milestone card corresponding. In the cleanup phase at the end of the round where any of these cards were taken, that milestone becomes inactive for the rest of the game and is flipped over or removed from the board. Particularly in the early phases of the game, players may be trying to manipulate their way into getting some of these milestones so that that can help them throughout the rest of the game. I won't go through all of the milestones and I'll leave you to read the specific details of them in the rulebook. But a couple of key things to note. There are certain milestones which impact your game that have a non-optional effect, such as eternal marketing or an eternal pricing discount. Once you have that milestone, those effects will always occur whether you want them to or not. There are a couple of milestones which let you automatically take a new employee, And be careful with the first burger and first pizza produced ones, as these will immediately give you a trained employee who has to be paid in the round that they're taken. So if you do not have money when you get those milestones, you'll get no benefit from it, because you'll have to fire them immediately. Lastly, the timing of the first to have $100 milestone should be such that you cannot claim the bonus effect, where your CEO counts as a CFO, until the following round. The game of Food Chain Magnate plays until the bank has run out of money twice. Recall that there was $50 per player in the bank to start the game. When the last of that starting money is taken, flip over the reserve cards that everybody chose at the start of the game, total up the money value on it, and then place that amount of money into the bank to start the second half of the game. Next, look at which card occurs most frequently in the reserve pack. There's a number of slots shown at the bottom of that, and that is the new number of slots that each CEO card has for the rest of the game. So in this case, CEOs would be upgraded from 3 slots to 4. If there were more hundreds than anything else, it would be 2 slots, and if there were more 200s, there would be 3 slots. In the event of a tie, use the higher number of slots. The game then continues playing until this second supply of money has been exhausted. This will occur during one of the dinner time phases, and the rest of money during that dinner time phase will be paid out from the main supply. The game then ends at the end of stage 4. Nobody has to pay their employees for the final round of the game. Each player adds up the total amount of money that his or her company has earned during the game, and the player with the most money wins. In the event of a tie, the final turn order breaks the tie. Food Chain Magnate can be a particularly brutal game, and even the rulebook acknowledges that fact, warning you that if you fall behind, you may find it impossible to get back into the game. A couple of tips I'll leave you with. Particularly in the early phase of the game, keep a close eye on what milestones other people are claiming in this round, because that will be your last chance to claim that milestone, and then tailor your strategy around it. If you're competing in the same market as a nearby restaurant for houses, make sure you keep a close eye on what discount and pricing managers they're getting, because ultimately you will not be selling any food in that market unless you have the lowest effective price. Also keep in mind that you can always ask another player what employees are in there at the beach pile. Even though it's a face down pile, it is public information and the player must show you that pile. Be wary of any players who have a luxuries manager, as if they're able to corner a specific part of the market and be the only one who can supply food to those houses, they will make a lot of money very quickly and could even win the game with one single good turn. Finally, restaurant placement can be critical. A poor restaurant placement, even at the very start of the game, could completely destroy your game. And the only way that you're able to get around that is with the regional manager card, which is a 1x card and therefore limited in number, as this is the only way that you can move a poorly placed restaurant. And that's how to play Food Chain Magnate. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you enjoy playing. Please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to hear more from Meeple University.